Here we go.
Here we go. What's going on?
Yeah, honestly,
she's
I'm
reading
so
like
confused.
these like notes or whatever.
Welcome, gentle travelers.
Yeah.
To the
Must not be
realm
used to.
of the Duat.
Do what? Do what?
Do what?
Do what?
Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about it.
She's guiding us through our journey to the afterlife.
Confirmed. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we mentioned that, I think.
Right. So this is the afterlife.
Yes, Mark.
Afterlife, not the afterlife.
Multiple?
You'd be surprised how many intersectional planes of untethered consciousness exist.
Yeah.
Weird.
Like the ancestral plane. Oh,
Guess that's from Black Panther.
Yo,
Oh, okay.
cool reference. Nice Easter egg there.
Rip BP.
Rest in peace.
Dang.
Okay.
She got like 100
Yeah, she
papers.
got-
Good grade.
Because the Duat's true nature is impossible for the human mind to comprehend,
Right.
you may perceive this realm as something more easily recognizable to you. A sight first for me, but
That's kind of weird though. Like, do you think that's why? Like, he?
Why
I don't
would we
know.
imagine
That's
this realm to be a psychiatric hospital?
Because we're insane.
yeah. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, it's cleared up a lot already so far. Still confusing. Though.
Talking hippo. Talking.
The city's flying. The city's flying. We're fighting an army of robots, and I have a bow and arrow.
Mark,
I love
that's
that.
the reality.
None of this makes any
The
sense.
hospital, that's the.
Oh no, he's about to kill himself,
Mark.
dude. And his partner turned on him and everything. And I like how they kept like very close to that comic origin story though.
Yeah.
No, don't kill yourself.
Mark.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, we talked about this.
I feel the pain inside of you.
Where are you?
So,
This is I guess where he like obviously where he gets.
comes midnight.
I
Is-
am the god Khonshu. In
We
search
talked about
of
that early on in the series. Like, do you think he's taking advantage of him?
I feel like he says watch this. Oh, like
to be my hand,
well, let's see if we can figure out
my
anything.
eyes, my vengeance.
Vengeance.
My
Vengeance.
word against the evildoers. To bind your very being to me and eradicate
This is intense, dude.
the worst. Those
You gotta feel for
This
Mark
is really
here.
this is really weird. After all that we've seen, I feel
Yeah.
kind of bad for him. He's
I don't know. The mind. I feel it. Fractured.
yeah.
Broken. Most fascinating.
Dude, Khonshu, man.
Are a worthy candidate to serve me during this time.
Yeah, I feel like he was. I feel
Dang.
like he is taking advantage of him.
Broken, fragile, you're worthy.
Yeah,
Like, that feels like he's
I
taking
feel like I
advantage.
can easily take advantage of you.
Protect the travelers of the night and bring my vengeance to those who would do them harm.
Snaky old vulture. He was manipulating you from the start.
Yep, Steven agrees.
Keep us alive. Look, he was taking advantage of you. Well, it was just a way for me to keep being what I've always been.
No, you're not a killer, dude.
A killer.
No.
No, you're not a killer.
He tried to save everybody.
He tried to save his brother. I guess he feels like
He
that
always
because of his
blamed
brother.
himself.
Yeah.
Those who would do them harm.
Yeah. Look,
Uh
scales. Have we done it? Have
oh.
we done
No.
Yeah, it's a little wobble there.
Yeah, just like a couple more things.
There he goes.
Rise and
Is this the true origin story?
as my fist of vengeance, as my
Moonlight. Oh, that's sick, dude.
Boom, you looking for this?
Welcome back to BoomShot. I'm Kel. This is Colby,
Yes, sir.
and we are going to be reacting to. We're not reacting to. We're going to be covering Moon Knight episode 5.
That was a heavy episode.
Dude, it really was a heavy episode. Different. It's a lot different than anything Marvel I think has done so
Oh,
far.
long shot. Man.
So, I mean, without further ado, let's waste no time. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so what are your thoughts about the episode? What was like? What you like most about it? What's your theory? What's what?
I mean, wow, I hate to beat a dead horse here, but Oscar Isaac,
Dude.
what? You got to give this man props.
Dude, yeah.
And it's not like a regular performance. He's having to put on multiple, alters personalities. and he's doing it fantastic. I mean, you genuinely think they're two different people.
Yeah, like you really do, and it's like how he can switch seamlessly, like on the dime. Like the camera cuts to him, and he's talking like Mark, and then it cuts back to him, and then he's talking like Steven, and it's like the weirdest thing.
Yeah, or even in like the same scene where he like does the or whatever. Yeah, and then he switches like that because that's still kind of the same shot. But I heard they had his brother stand in, but either way, like. That's got to be hard to do.
And not even just to pick up their voice, but their mannerisms, too. Like, cause Steven has, like, a kind of like a weird walk to him, and Mark's kind of like, just like a normal dude. And it's like, it's kind of weird because he picks up their mannerisms, he picks up their voices, and it's kind of crazy.
He put in the work for it, dude, and it paid off dividends.
Oh, for sure,
That's kind of, aside from, like, the content of the episode, that really stood out to me. Yeah. Especially in this episode, and the whole series.
Yeah, definitely are... Probably, I would venture to say the best performance of anybody in the MCU so far. Yeah, I would. It's hard to say that, but I would say
it just depends on how you're looking at it. Because I would have to agree, because what he had to do for this role.
Yeah.
It's very impressive, but it's hard to beat RDJ.
It really is. I can't. I can maybe distinguish between Captain America as like another person as Captain America, even though it's gonna be hard to see. If anybody plays Steve Rogers again, it'll be hard to see anybody but Chris Evans.
Yeah.
But it's hard to distinguish between RDJ and Iron Man. They feel like synonymous at this point.
Yeah. As far as in terms of that, I don't think RDJ will ever be top. But performance wise, this very well may be the best.
One of the more talented actors. This will definitely solidify him as one of the best we've seen in a while. But aside content wise, so that's obviously performance and and looking at it from an exterior view, but content wise within the universe, what did you think about the episode?
It was deep, dude. They got into Steven's walking around trying to figure out Mark's past in this mental hospital.
It's like a museum almost. It's like a museum mental hospital. I loved it though. He would walk up, and I love how the first scene he saw was Mark standing in the street with that. Yeah. I didn't even notice that at first, but when it cut back to it, I was like, wow.
Yeah, that was cool.
If he had figured out about that at the beginning, what would that have done to his entire mental state? If Steven had figured out about his mom passing away, what would have happened?
Because that's what I thought about too in that moment. He was right. It was literally at her funeral.
Yeah, exactly.
And when that moment when Steven took over, he was right there, and then he calls.
Yeah, and I know. I don't understand that. I didn't understand how did Steven still think his mom was alive? Did they were pre-record calls or something? I don't know.
I was thinking that too, because maybe because he would talk to the guy that. The street performer.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't get a response, so maybe he just kind of talked and imagined a response.
Yeah, or kind of he has. I was thinking that too. He has this almost inner voice of what he thinks his mom actually was, because when he's watching Mark's memories, he's like, I don't remember mom being like that at all.
Yeah, that's true. And I think the other thing could be if the mental hospital thing with Dr. Harrow's real. Yeah. Maybe they got because. Harrow told him your mom's dead, and he's like, no, she's not. I'm gonna freak out if you say that again. Yeah. And then he calls somebody or nobody, but maybe that was a real person that had a stand-in to talk to him. Yeah. And maybe they kept that person on the line for him. She was always there. Yeah. To act as a mom figure for him. Dude. If that timeline.
That would be so trippy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but basically we walk through Mark's life, and throughout the episode we see how Mark and his little brother, I think, what was his name?
Randall.
Randall, yeah.
But he called him Roro.
Yeah, so it was, Mark was Stephen Grant or whatever, and his little brother was Rosser, if you remember from the previous episode
movie.
At the end of it. Yeah, so, but basically they go inside a cave, and there's a rainstorm, and the cave floods. Mark escapes, but Randall doesn't. And I guess that's kind of his mom. Oh, God. So essentially, his mom came to blame Mark for the death of Randall, and Mark, and I guess Mark, because of that kind of mental abuse and physical, and as we see later in the episode, physical abuse and emotional abuse,
man.
is the reason he thinks he's a killer. Like we reacted to the clip where he says it's just another way for me to become who I was always meant to be, right? When he's talking about conscience,
he takes all the blame for it.
Yeah,
it's sad.
But it wasn't his fault, and it's funny. That's actually like a good moment later in the episode. Like Steven comes up to Mark and he's like, "Look, it wasn't your fault. Like that was a freak
he's been
accident.
Holding that his whole life."
Yeah, and so like almost kind of like whenever he was able to let that go, and it kind of did something for him. But basically, we walk through that. Mark's brother dies because, and his mom blames Mark. So Mark has a rough relationship with his mother his entire life. And as we've learned, if you don't have both parents, it's harder as a child. But his father is there for him, which I felt bad for his dad because it goes on to a later scene. And Mark's like leaving his dad or whatever. And I'm like, his dad tried everything to make him feel.
It went through like multiple birthdays or at least a couple. And it was just him and his dad and his mom. Wasn't there. She was in another room or something, not celebrating Mark's birthday. Yeah.
It's just terrible, dude. But I felt bad for his dad because he was like, I can't lose another son. And I was like, man, I do feel bad for him. So then we get to that scene in the street where Mark's looking at it, like Mark is sitting there and he's drinking the drink. And then you can see his dad open the window and he sees Mark through the window, but Mark just ends up walking away. Yeah,
and he's like kind of motions for him to come in. He walks away, and that's really when Stephen Grant comes out.
That's when Mark said that him and Stephen's life began to bridge. And because he picks up and he's like in an unknown street, and I don't know, dude.
And he calls his mom, even though like
she's dead.
Yeah, at the funeral.
Yeah,
it's sad.
It's really the weirdest thing, but like the way they tapped into like the mental, like I feel like this is a very comic booky way of looking at dissociative identity disorder or whatever. But still, there's legit like people who have so much trouble in their minds. Like it's not good to see, but like it's interesting to see how Marvel like incorporated that.
Yeah, and also earlier in the episode when she goes in the room to abuse him physically. Yeah, that's kind of when Stephen Grant comes out for like the first time, right? Because he wants to have a childhood where he thinks he has a good mom, and stuff. So like, because that's why Stephen was confused. He was like, "This is not how
I remember mom at all." Yeah,
my room wasn't like this and stuff like that. So it's really sad. Like that's kind of how it came about, was that childhood trauma. Yeah, and he wanted an escape from the abuse.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I was thinking maybe because of his brother that it would be. That would be why he was almost trying to get his brother back by adopting his fake identity as Rosser.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was thinking at first, but then whenever it was the funeral scene with his brother's funeral scene, and Mark comes down the stairs and his mom yells at him this is all your fault or whatever. Yeah. That's when obviously you start to get up this is abuse, and he's been he's blamed himself for this his entire life. Yeah. And obviously he had no control over what happened. But I like the way that it tapped into that. It definitely tugs on the heartstrings, making you sympathize with Mark. Yes, he's killed all these people, and you can debate whether killing people for what your crimes is maybe right or whatever. But you got to feel bad for him for real. Yeah. But that was definitely one of my favorite aspects of the episode, is just how they took a deep dive into Mark's brain. We've been waiting to see that for about 5 episodes, and I thought it was well worth the wait for sure.
Something else I'll point out, that because we talked about this before with Winter Soldier in this. Yeah. Some parallels to this series. Yeah. Was how he remembers every single person he killed as Moon Knight. Same thing with Winter Soldier. Yep. And I think that really put a human aspect into it too, because he really didn't have control over that, but he still felt bad about it in a way, and he remembers every single one. Their name, exactly where they were when it happened.
Yeah, I know. It reminds me of that scene. Like you're saying, but it's in Civil War where Iron Man looks at Bucky and he's like, or Winter Soldier, and he's like, "Do you even remember them?" He's like, "I remember all of them." And then parallel that with what Steven says to Mark, and so he's like, "Do you remember them?" He's like, "You try taking a life and see if you don't remember who you killed." And it's not like these people were good, innocent
right?
people,
Yeah, they were,
but they didn't go through the justice system,
right?
They didn't
and I think he feels bad about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because obviously, they weren't good people. Yeah, but still, he killed all those people without them, having to go through.
Yeah, without the court of law,
and he had no control over it. Really.
Yeah, exactly.
That he's kind of trapped, and that's what we saw with that scene we reacted to.
Yeah, we reacted to the scene where he basically, like we really called it, though, in one of our first episodes, to go back and watch that. I think it was the first one.
Yeah.
That because of his mental instability,
we talked about that
he was a prime target for Khonshu, because Khonshu could, I guess, like, maybe manipulate the situation a little bit, which at the time we thought Stephen Grant was, that Marvel kind of switched the origin story, and that Stephen Grant was going to be the main person and Mark was going to kind of be his
Stephen himself, we find out this episode, thought that.
Yeah, exactly, which is interesting, and that will actually switch to that, because I think that's something interesting to talk about. Like, we see that Mark didn't want Stephen to go into that room because he would discover that Stephen was made up.
Yep.
Or, like something that Mark kind of dreamed up in his head to, like you said, give Stephen this good impression of his mom.
Yeah, and that's why it cuts. It's really sad, man. Really heavy stuff, but that's why it cuts out when she's about to physically abuse him. Yeah, because he didn't want even the older Stephen to see that, because he wants to be able to have that fond memory of his childhood. Which is,
honestly, like it displays the noble side of Mark. Like, he was willing to endure the bad parts. That way,
Mark had to endure all.
Which is really like cool to see. Like, he was willing. Like, it's weird to say, because he was doing it. He was doing it for himself, but he was not doing it for himself at the same time. And, like, he was doing it for himself so he didn't have to experience the pain. Because, like, that's kind of what Steven, he's like, I was your psychology, or whatever, is something like your stress ball. That's what he says. He's like, oh, so I was your stress ball or whatever. But then Mark rebuts. He's like, look, I wanted you to have, like, a fond memory of your childhood. But I definitely liked that about this episode. It wasn't, like, a lot of action. But just
till the end, really.
It felt like this episode, like we talked about earlier, it feels like they should have ripped the rug out from us earlier.
We only got one episode left.
Yeah, we got one episode left, and
Mark's
we still got to get Khonshu back, so that way he can become Moon Knight. He's got to stop Harrow. It feels.
It's gonna have to be a movie for
it really is gonna have to be a movie, which makes me worried, because like the first 5 episodes have been really good, and they've, like, the way they've stitched the story together, but. That's just, like, the problem is, like, with Disney Plus shows, we get 6 episodes, and it's not enough to tell. It's like they're trying to stick to one narrative, so that way you don't have to go, like, with Mandalorian, like, they'll have branch episodes where Mando goes and does something that's not necessarily related to the plot, but may tie in later. Like, with Marvel stories, they're trying to keep it, 6 episodes, that way you can stay on one central plot line. But it just doesn't, sometimes it just doesn't feel like there's enough episodes to tell the story.
Well, I'll throw this out there. Maybe they leave it on a huge cliffhanger, like they did at the end of the first Hobbit movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
maybe it doesn't. We don't get a resolved issue. Maybe Harrow's still at large. Yeah, maybe he's still in the underworld, and that's just how it ends. You like.
Or really? Maybe it ends with Layla getting Khonshu back and Mark becoming Moon Knight again. But
Harrow's still out there.
But Harrow's still out there. Yeah, and they have to go stop him. Or like maybe it ends with Harrow, bringing Amit back or whatever.
Yeah, I could see it ending on a down note with Amit coming back, and that's the final scene.
Might set up. It might be a setup for Doctor Strange and the mom, for real. If you really think, sorry, I had to. It might be a setup for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, because it could tie in any way, really. But
yeah, anything could tie into that movie.
Honestly, if you've seen our previous reactions, anything. But I don't know. I definitely really liked this episode. It's probably my favorite of the series so far.
Yeah.
But I think it just felt like a exposition dump. Like typically in a movie, especially with a villain in like superhero movies, like there will be a scene where the villain like explains his whole plan. Like that's the whole Phineas and Ferb Dr. Doofenshmirtz trope where he just explains his plan, then Perry the Platypus stops him. But like this felt like an episode purely devoted to explaining Mark's story.
Which we needed. We've been talking about that for a while. But it felt late.
Yeah, it felt very late.
We've been saying that for a while. We thought it would be episode 2. Yeah. If you watch our first breakdown or our reaction, we thought it would be episode 2. And then we move on. Yeah,
but that's not to say that the show has been bad by any means. I've actually really enjoyed it. I think it might be tied with Loki, maybe, but I think Loki's better.
For now, we'll have to see the finale. Yeah. At this point, I really feel like it might end on a cliffhanger, like a Smog type thing.
I think Loki handled its 6 episodes better than this show handled its 6 episodes, but definitely, like, this show has it's tackled like a different side of a Marvel character. Instead of about like the the brute strength or whatever, like, oh, I lost my powers, how do I get them back? It's like this guy's got crippling mental issues, and how does he fix it?
Yeah, I think it's weird because if you'd have asked me what my favorite show would be before, any of them I'd have said Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like the most mainstream show. Mm-hmm. Loki obviously is like way out there, but it's my favorite show.
Yeah.
And then you get this. I figured I would like this show, but it's exceeded my expectations.
I remember when they announced this show, I always really liked Moon Knight. I remember watching him in episodes with Marvel's Ultimate Spider-Man or whatever, but I always thought he was really cool, like, as a character. And so whenever they announced the show, I was really excited because I felt like it would be kind of like a Batman-esque type thing. But definitely, I did not think it would be as good as it was. The first 3 episodes kind of had me like, this show's good. It's pretty good, but I don't know where it's at. Then the 4th episode hit, and I was like, wow, okay, this is really good.
Going crazy.
And then the 5th episode hit, and I'm like, okay, this is great. I'm ready for episode 6.
Yeah, I feel like episode 6, there's just not enough time. I mean, they could do it, but I feel like if they do, it's going to be rushed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and that's I was talking to another friend, but we said that last week, and then I was talking to another friend today. He's like, it's not going to be... Like, it's been good, but now they've got to tie all this stuff together in one episode. So either the episode's super long, or they're going to leave it on a cliffhanger, or they're going to try and rush the episode and not... Kind of like how it felt with Hawkeye. Like, there was a bunch of stories that they were trying to bring together, and it felt like the last episode of Hawkeye just felt very weird.
Yeah, I feel like I understand they got 6 episodes. I mean, that's like 6 hours, right? If they're about an hour a piece, that could be 3 movies. Yeah. I understand the budget for these is insane. I mean, it's hard to go longer than 6 episodes.
Not to mention what they cut out. Like, it's probably at least, 20 hours of film that they got to go through and edit down and stuff like that. But
I mean, it's just hard for screenwriters and stuff to fit everything in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 6 hours, but you got to think of most shows... And a lot of these are only going to be one season. Yeah. And most shows have multiple seasons, more episodes. So
yeah, to tell a compelling story in 6 hours is not easy. It really isn't. Like
even with movies too, you get sequels for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like saying it's 3 movies, like that's 3 2-hour movies. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could be a trilogy. Yep. But I mean, and usually you get a season 2. I mean, hopefully we'll get a season 2 of Moon Knight.
Yeah, I hear it's on the fence right now. That's what I've been reading, but I hope we get a renewed season 2.
I think obviously if it ends on a cliffhanger, we will.
Yeah.
And honestly, I hope it does. I hope they don't rush it.
Same.
And then we don't get a season 2, and we're like, man, that's how it ended.
Yeah, like that. It almost like it would leave it as a mar on the series if they rushed it and it was bad, and it was like, okay, well, the last episode was bad, but the other 5 were good. So it's like rewatchability would be hard at that point. But I'm liking it so far. We're definitely going to be covering episode 6, so stay tuned for that one. But until then, let us know what you guys thought or think in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.